Flails exist in various forms. You have the one-handed flail, often seen as a ball and chain, the thrashing flail, which I have extensively covered on my channel, and you have the Iberian Mangual, the subject of today's video. The Mangual, which just means flail in Spanish, is a flail with 3 long chains with attached weights and a semi-long handle. The only written source we have on fencing with the Mangual was written by Miguel Perez de Mendoza in 1675. Mendoza does not give us much in techniques for the Mangual, besides some rudimentary advice on how to move with the Mangual and what to do in certain situations. However, there are a couple interesting things we can learn about the Mangual from his work. Mendoza writes that the Mangual is to be moved in the same motions as the Montante. This implies that it's also used in the same context as the Montante. This means it was most likely a weapon used in an urban environment. An area of denial weapon. Crowd control. This means the weapons it faced were most likely rapiers and dusaks instead of long polearms. Using it as an area of denial weapon means that parries can be neglected, as you don't try to actively engage a singular opponent and instead try to stop your opponents from engaging with you. It being used like a Montante also means that most likely those using the Mangual were equipped the same way as a Montantero, which means that they had a sidearm like a sword and armor. Mendoza also describes how the Mangual should be constructed. For example, he wants the handle, which he calls shaft, to be as thick as a pike and to be adorned with 4 langets to strengthen the handle against being cut. He makes sure to tell the reader that these should be light as to not hinder movement. The Mangual, as in chain and handle together, have to be as long as a Montante. He describes the chains in a more unclear manner. He says that these are attached to each other with rivets. Many theories have sprung up what he could mean by this. Maybe something like a bike chain as seen with this flail? Or maybe something else entirely. It is not clear, and if you want to build a Mangual yourself, you can just ignore it and pick a normal chain. We don't exactly know why people would choose a Mangual over the Montante, but we can make a couple guesses. Maybe the Mangual was chosen because it was simply cheaper in production. Like all flails, the Mangual 2 is not as expensive and time-consuming in its creation like a Montante would be. It could also be that people simply found it more convenient to store, or even more convenient to carry. Or maybe the reason was something else entirely, like wanting to be able to conceal the Mangual under a cloak and to not look as threatening as you would with a Montante, an incognito bodyguard weapon. Until we find more written evidence, we can only speculate. Many people call the Mangual a historical practice weapon for the Montante, but this cannot be true in my opinion, and I believe that Mendoza would agree with me here. He himself writes that you have to be careful when practicing the Mangual, as it is very difficult to master without understanding it specifically. He also describes the Mangual as being of equal rigor to the Montante, but as being more dangerous since it is a blunt weapon. And this is one of the points that disqualifies the Mangual as being a practice weapon for the Montante. Why would Mendoza mention how much damage it can do? Usually when you talk about a practice weapon, you don't say that it inflicts more damage than the weapon it's standing in for. To me, this sounds like the Mangual is a weapon in its own right. Whether you practice Mangual yourself with a steel one or one made out of plastic chains and tennis balls, the important thing is to keep moving. Don't just stop mid-movement. Try and take momentum out of the flail by letting it finish its movement, holding the flail far out and going into your knees. Understanding momentum is key, and despite the differences, that is something that unites every single flail. At this point, I want to thank Elmar Homann for providing me with video material and help with the script. If you have any more questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. We love everything historical fencing. Thank you.